Hello everyone. It is my pleasure to be here and talk about national cybersecurity and more specifically about the new challenges that we face in the cybersecurity field. So when we talk about national cybersecurity, we have to realize that national cyberspace, the asset that we actually protect, is a complex organism with countless connections, interactions, and interdependencies of different information systems. So these days, I would say that it's not sufficient anymore to protect the different information systems separately, but we need more holistic approach. And according to the Estonian experience, we have had this holistic approach about 20 years now. And we have developed several protective measures how to secure the whole cyber organism. The most important protective measures that we have are two. One is X-Road that you already heard through Annette's presentation. It's a universal system how we protect our internet connectivity. So we basically create a security layer on top of the internet so we can connect different entities, different actors to the same information exchange system. So the private sector, public sector, and also the citizens. And the second very, very important cornerstone system is our electronic identification system. So basically, through that, we can provide safe authentication and legally valid digital signatures. So these are the cornerstones of our national cyber organism and also the national cybersecurity. But if I put the same systems to the coronavirus context, I can say that these systems are like a masks and vaccine for our digital organism. So without these, we can not really protect our cyber body. Regarding COVID-19, I've been repeatedly asked recently whether coronavirus has affected the functioning of our society. And I have to admit that actually not too much. Estonia took the digital path about 20 years ago, and it has paid off. So we used the digital systems before coronavirus, and most certainly we can benefit electronic services during the COVID-19 crisis. So the crisis has not actually affected our administrative processes. But of course, it doesn't mean that we don't have challenges at all. And I have to say, we actually like challenges. It makes life more interesting. And all people who are interested in challenges are very welcome to the cybersecurity field. The first big challenge that we face is actually related to the reliability of technology. The question is that how can we make sure that all these sophisticated systems, hardware and software, communication systems, ICT systems, etc., doesn't have or don't have vulnerabilities and backdoors. The basic problem here is that nobody has these days 100% capacity to conduct technical inspections. So we cannot go through all hardware and software and ensure that these don't have any vulnerabilities. Just to give an example, that if we take a Windows operating system, it has about 45 million lines of code. So if we print it out, we get about 800,000 pages of text. So you can imagine that if we consider all these different systems that we use in our cyberspace, if we want to or we have to inspect all that, we can most certainly cannot do that. So where is the security then? the security lies on the trust on the technology providers. So we have to trust them. And recently we have seen that there are some technology providers that we can trust and there are some that we cannot trust. At the moment, the biggest question is in the 5G communication technology field, but very soon we will see that countries will differentiate the accepted technology providers from the not accepted technology providers in other ICT fields as well. The second big challenge that we have is related to the cloud services. It's a question about how we can trust cloud services and cloud service providers. So let's think quickly that what is actually a cloud service. To put it simple, cloud service means that we keep our data in somebody else's computer. The data is not in our computer or in our information system, not in our cyber organism. It is somewhere else. So it means that we don't have total control over the data and services we have. Somebody else has to take care of cybersecurity for us. And in this case, we have to realize certain risks related to these cloud services. First, the jurisdiction question, where the data is kept. If it's in our cyberspace, it's more or less we can manage the cyber risk. But if the data is located in another country, in another jurisdiction, it means that our legal system doesn't apply there. We have to play according to somebody else's rules. The second is internet connectivity. All these services are provided over the internet. But what if the internet connectivity fails? If it happens in our country, of course, we can fix that because the internet in our territory, we have some control over it. But if the connectivity problem happens in another country, in another jurisdiction, then we really rely on the activities that others should take. And the third question is about the trust of the cloud service provider. Can we trust the service provider? Are we confident that the service provider pays enough attention to cybersecurity? Can we be confident that the service provider doesn't violate data protection and cybersecurity rules and regulations? And of course, we have to be smart as well that what we write into the contract, because the service is provided according to the contract and cybersecurity is provided according to the contract as well. So these are the big questions. And from the national security point of view, if we have, for example, 1, 2, 3 cloud service providers, it's not a very big issue. But we see the trend that in the near future, most of the services are provided through the cloud service. And this is a very big shift in the cybersecurity area, how we can ensure the protection of our data and the service as well. And the third big challenge is related to ICT development. It is nothing new. In the cyber community, everybody knows about this issue for many years. So the problem is that how to keep up with rapid digital development. And I don't know how it is in your countries, but in Estonia, we see that the IT developers, they have the continuous urge to innovate. They want to do new things and they want to do it very rapidly. So it puts a lot of pressure to the cybersecurity guys that how to keep up with this rapid development. It concerns all these different new technologies we have already in place, like artificial intelligence, augmented reality, Internet of Things, and also robotics that we see more and more on the streets these days. So I don't have the easy answer there. In the ideal world, we probably have enough resources to deal with all that, but in real life, of course, we always lack of resources. So we have to be smart how to organize cybersecurity. And again, Estonia, being as a small society, we have very many smart solutions how to do that. So please contact our e-Estonia showroom. They can direct you to the right companies who have these solutions. But our solution at the national level is we have some new ideas there as well. First of all, in coming months, we are going to present our new cybersecurity strategy. And this time, we are going to do it a little bit differently. We are not going to have a totally separate strategy, but it's going to be part of our Estonia digital development plan. So the digital development plan has 3 sections. One is connectivity strategy, the second is IT strategy, and the third one is cybersecurity strategy. And what is new now is that we want to interlink all these different strategies more together. And from the cybersecurity point of view, the main goal is to support the digital development. That's why we have 3 focus areas in the cybersecurity strategy. First, we have to modernize our cybersecurity management system in order to meet these new demands. The second, we have to increase our analytical capacity. So it means that we should have to deal more and more with artificial intelligence, IoT, robotics, etc., etc. And third, we have to increase also the existing cybersecurity capabilities. We already know what to do. We simply have to put more money to this field. So that was very shortly an overview how we think about cybersecurity, what are the challenges in our eyes, and what are the future plans. So thank you very much from my side, and I'm happy to answer to your questions.
Well, Raul, thank you so much for being here with us on stage. We've got several questions for you, actually.
Great.
Before we do that, however, we want to look at the results of the very first poll. And if you remember the previous poll of the first poll, the results, you will remember that the question was, would you trust your government with your digital data? And can we see the results on the screen, please? Yes, and here's a very interesting overview. So some people said, no way, absolutely not. The majority said, yes, the government has proven to be trustworthy. A quite sizable minority also said for basic data, sure. But very importantly, not a single person said they can have whatever they want, just like Facebook and Google. What are your thoughts on that?
It is very interesting. It probably shows the general trust on the government. So Estonia is, of course, a small society, and I don't know where's the other place we can put the trust, actually. Yeah. Because the different companies, they have, of course, the business interest. That is natural. But if you don't put the trust on the government, then I would say that there is need to change the government then.
I think it's interesting because we see that there is some sort of basic level of trust there, obviously, which is an encouraging start. But at the same time, we seem to trust the government less with our personal data than Google Maps, because with Google Maps we get a concrete result, a concrete use case, whereas most governments haven't really proven yet how they use that data for the citizens' good. So I think that's going to be, in Estonia, 99% of government services are online, but in many other countries, not so much yet.
That's very interesting, actually. I don't know why people trust more the private companies, because private companies, the management is not transparent, but the government should have this transparency. But
Absolutely.
Of course, I represent the government, so I might have
So you would say that.
Yeah, exactly. I cannot say otherwise.
We've got several questions for you. I'm not sure exactly whether we can get through all of them, but there's one from the audience. There's actually 2 questions. Number 1, what is the Estonian perception of the new EU cybersecurity strategy and NIS directive revision? Can you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, that's. I found. Of course, I don't want to sound very bureaucratic, because when we start to talk about the European strategies and the NIS directives, you know, there are so many different details. But what I would say that I think these documents go to the right direction. So all the important topics are covered, and also the NIS directive will have much more impact before. So we basically, with the new Network and Information Systems Directive or Security Directive, we will actually raise the minimum level of cybersecurity throughout the EU. So I think it's a good thing.
The second question that was a sort of follow-up from there, how can global and local industries best cooperate with governments to improve cyber information sharing and crisis management?
That's a difficult question. Of course, regarding crisis management, private sector, it is good if private sector provides good tools for this activity or this field. But information sharing is tricky. It not always, or also in the government, it happens on need-to-know basis. It's not like we share all information throughout the government all the time, specifically when it comes to the question of national security. So I would say that case-by-case basis, and there has to be, of course, trust on the private sector side as well, so we know that they are not violate, the rules then.
The last question that we sadly have time for is, how is Estonia planning on enhancing judicial coherence internationally, that we're all on the same page in terms of
to enhance what?
judicial coherence, so that in terms of privacy laws and so on, we're all on the same page.
Yeah, exactly. So what we can do is through the EU processes. The GDPR was the General Data Protection Regulation is one of these kind of tools how we get this coherence. And now the NIS directive, the second version, it will be the same way. So through this international, mostly through the EU cooperation, we will have that.
And we already see that even countries that are very loosely associated with the EU, such as Argentina, are implementing their own versions of the GDPR because they are dealing so much with European markets. So if we establish that common ground in Europe, I think that's a good start.
And GDPR is not only for EU, but everybody who has EU citizen status. So it's extraterritorial regulation. It affects the development throughout the world.